What is up, everybody? It is Chris Akin with another edition of Chris Akin Presents, and joining us now is my tied up member, my tied up partner, Mr. Erik Ferentinos. Erik, what's going on over there?
Oh, Chris, how are you, buddy? I've been better, man. I've been better. If I could just get my hands free here, get explode. There we go. Then I can kind of explain what's happening here.
All right.
Well, maybe this might help. I'm in a sanitarium, buddy.
I guess so. Nice. Why are you in the sanitarium? What caused you to get locked up?
I'm in a sanitarium. This is a funny story. At the Oceanside Pier, where I take my walks every day, there has been a lady, a kind of wacky lady there. God bless her soul.
Sure.
Okay, that's what they say in the South when somebody's
That's what you're supposed to say, right?
Anyways, I've been seeing this lady there for like about probably at least 3 years.
Okay.
The whole time I've been with Susan, anytime I've walked down the pier, I always forget that she's there. And then because when you're walking, it's kind of surreal. You have the ocean. There's so much input happening, right?
Okay.
You know, you got the water, you got strangers, you got seagulls, your senses are almost overloaded. So you kind of almost go into this like trance as you're like walking through the crowd of people,
right?
Tourists, the locals, whatever. You're heading down the boardwalk, and then all of a sudden a woman will pop out and be like, "That's what they get for fucking with me. The trial," and starts like talking about like some court case or something. Like she starts flipping out. She's going, "Well, of course they gave it to him. My dad lied to the jury." You know, she'll start like yelling, and I go like, "Whoa!" And they'll like take off. And there's been so many countless, interactions with her. We'll call her Maggie. I don't know what her name is. I'm certainly not making fun of like, mental health. This is just, she's more like a character to me that's just down there. And sometimes she can be like really offensive. There was one time I recall walking with Susan, and she was coming from the other direction towards us. And she all of a sudden just looked over at Susan and goes, "You're paying for that. You're paying for that." I was like, holy shit, this is my girlfriend here. Anyways, so moving forward today, when I go for my walks, I kind of just throw on whatever. I threw on, track pants.
Right.
Had my t-shirt, picked up a flannel off the floor that I've probably worn at least 4 or 5 times in the last week and a half. I put that on. I put on the crappiest Vans I own, which are the slip-on Vans that are kind of just plain black. They're just kind of lame. And these are the ones that I walk on the beach when I'm looking for shit. Okay. I'm looking for treasures and stuff. Right. Because I've been hit by waves, so they're nasty and smell like, sea funk.
Right.
And I'm wearing those, and when I walk, I think about stuff in my head, and sometimes I'm arguing with people that aren't there, and sometimes I'm thinking about songs. So I'm a musician, sometimes I might have my hand and I'm like, moving my fingers or something. I didn't realize till today, until Maggie out of nowhere, as I was walking back from going one way around the pier and coming over, all of a sudden Maggie's like, "Oh, somebody's over it," and puts her hand out like to pound me, like pound it. Okay. Yeah, I think you said something like that today. She's like, "There's somebody's had enough," and like she broke out of her like typical crazy shit to show pity on me,
right?
Who she assumed was a disheveled crazy person that was walking down. So, yeah, I just, have you ever been confused as a homeless person or a crazy person?
I have not, actually. I've not. I'm too fat. I would have eaten way too much to be homeless. But
Right.
no, I've never been.
Yeah, I wouldn't give you too much money if you were. I'd go, let's wait till he's down to about 180 before we start giving him any money. Yeah, so this, got me thinking for a backdrop for today. I was like, let me go with like a sanitarium. And then I thought about Johnny Kelly.
Sure.
And I'm like, he's in Quiet Riot now.
Right.
And so he should feel right at home, right?
Yeah,
this
you
is
think
like
so.
Mental Health. Hello? Is this on? Yeah, I had the straight jacket. I'll do that bit again when he comes on. But.
You should have wore you should have had the mask guy. Scully.
Scully to be in here with me?
But to be covering your face when you came on, like the mental health guy.
Ah.
See?
Yeah, that's kind of close to that.
See, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That would have been non-mental health.
I wanted to do like a whole beach thing with Scully, which I'll do in the future. Okay. It's like the weather's been garbage again here out of nowhere. Really? I do see the sun is popping out right now, but as for the last 2 days when I intended to film some Scully scenes on location, if you will, like 100 feet over there on the beach. Right. But the weather was crap, so I went against it.
Right. Nice. Well, dude, you didn't play last week. That had to be boring for you.
Yeah, it was kind of boring. However, with Mother's Day, we had the flowers going all last week. For people that don't know, a little side gig for me, I have a flower delivery service, if you will, that I like a contractor for this, and this place has me deliver flowers for them when they need it. And Mother's Day is, of course, a huge holiday for that.
Right on.
And yeah. So anyways, I probably did 300 flower deliveries in the past week. And it's a stressful job.
I have to ask, my daughter does delivery too. She does DoorDash. Right. And I just always am like, I think about it. I'm like, it's a cool gig. Unless you get bad places to go, like either bad neighborhoods or more to the point, apartments. Because apartments, you never know what you're walking into. How is that in the flower game? Do you get a lot of apartments or no?
Oh yeah, when I first started doing that it took so long to find apartments, and it's still always a pain in the butt. Right. Even down to apartments and gated communities, just the gate aspect,
right?
Because you get there, most of the time the name isn't even going to be in that thing. What I'm looking for is somebody that's either going in or coming out, because I'm going to either go in behind somebody or I'm going to kamikaze in the wrong door of the gate with somebody that's coming out. Usually in the time it takes for me to get out and look on the flowers for a phone number and actually call it, they don't answer because they're not expecting a call, and I do a text. And within that time, usually a car's coming in or out, and I quickly abort that, jump back in my car. And it's exciting. I do get I'd be lying if I didn't get an adrenaline rush.
Right.
I'm actually, I kind of stink when I get home off a 5-hour, run and do flowers, because your body's let off so much adrenaline and different stuff doing these totally illegal moves.
Too funny.
And I'm trying, in Mother's Day, it's I'm in total clown car mode, where it's they're shoving 40 flower arrangements and balloons in my car. It's a total clown car. I can't see a goddamn thing. There's nothing safe about it. So it's it's dangerous, but I made great money probably for that, week. And then luckily they haven't called me in. I wasn't going to go in anyway. I needed some time to just.
Right. Now, are there tips? Do you get tips at all or no? Because I'm thinking you don't, because nobody's expecting the flowers.
That, and I'm a ding dong ditch guy.
Okay.
I'm more about I get my photo of it and get all that straight before I even ringing the doorbell is the last thing I do.
Right.
And most of these people have an iRing anyway, so it's not,
Okay.
really necessary. But I think the pandemic changed a lot for delivery. That's when it no longer was a handoff where you had to hand it off to them or something.
Sure.
It was leave it there on the front door type scenario. Delivery
Right.
is really like moved
Right.
that way, evolved
And just
that way.
take your picture so that you can prove that you dropped it there.
Right. You see a lot of footage of even FedEx and UPS people that take the picture and then come walking back and grab it and try to walk backwards or try to,
Right.
fake out the camera and take the box. I've never done anything like that or thought to.
Yeah. My daughter said that they're trying to institute some kind of a PIN thing now with DoorDash, or they're talking about it, where when you get to the place, you'll get sent a PIN. Like if you were delivered something to me, you would push whatever button on your phone saying that you're at the location, and I would be delivered a PIN number, and then I would have to punch back the PIN number to DoorDash into the DoorDash app, almost like accepting the delivery, so that you couldn't say that they didn't deliver the food.
Oh, it's more. That sounds more like the customer is the one.
Well, the customer would have to. DoorDash sends them a PIN, like when they complete their order or when they place their order. That'll be like, okay, your order's been received by whatever McDonald's. Your PIN number is 3206.
Yeah,
and then when the driver comes up to deliver, then the person has to, like in their driveway, the person has to put in their PIN number 3206 in order to get the food dropped at the door. And that would be like proof of receipt.
I'm glad I don't do that anymore. That was just such a lame job. Any of that working for Uber, Lyft, any of the Postmates, all the delivery things I had to do were like public service punishment for me. This thing's like, a lot easier. It was like a 2 or 3 hour little thing just to keep, because it's, as people know, it's super expensive here in San Diego. I mean, I do pretty good playing music, but you need more than that here. Like if I lived anywhere else, I would have definitely my own house and all that. But here you're renting unless you have $1 million.
I was gonna say, my daughter with DoorDash bought a house, bought a car. She's doing fine, and she makes a lot of money doing DoorDash. She works hard, but
it depends where you are. But these companies are awful.
Oh yeah,
the way they're run. I mean, they're treating you like you're your own boss and you're a 1099 person, but you have to do the job exactly the way they want to. You have if you start denying people or not taking deliveries, they'll just take your access away from the app. So you have no say in the matter. You have to take these very unprofitable, runs.
Yeah, and they fuck them on their, like if somebody complains. The DoorDash people anyway, they don't have any real quality control over the orders because the orders are all sealed. It's like in a bag or a box or whatever that's sealed where they can't see what's in it. So if somebody calls and complains, which I've done, I'll admit it, I don't do it anymore because I found out how it works. But so let's say I get a DoorDash order and I'm missing my sandwich. Okay, I ordered 3 sandwiches for me and my kid or whatever, and one of them is missing. They'll, instead of making the restaurant re-deliver it, they'll just refund the order. Just blind, because DoorDash doesn't even want the hassle. So they'll just refund you the order. Well, the problem is when they refund you the order, then the delivery guy gets fucked out of the tip because they refund the tip too. And it's like, so the delivery guy that did nothing wrong gets fucked. And that's apparently is a big problem is, because a lot of people, they'll call back or they'll call DoorDash or message or however you do that and say, well, I didn't get my drink. So instead of refunding them $2, they'll refund them $50, whatever the whole order was.
Jeez.
They just refund the whole order. And then the delivery person that wasted a half hour and put 15 miles on their car or whatever, they get nothing. They get screwed out of basically that half hour's money.
And not
Sucks.
sometimes more than that. I mean, I never did DoorDash, but I remember doing Postmates.
Yeah, same thing.
And it was similar. And any of the restaurant ones could be devastating, like time wise.
Yeah.
If it was busy and somebody, and I started to realize that and start avoiding. It was a little easier on Postmates, I think, to avoid taking food orders than it was on like Lyft or Uber.
Right.
If you started saying no to rides on Lyft and Uber, they would kick you off the thing. They were like Nazis. But I do remember being able to like figure out which restaurants were not worth doing.
Right.
You were asking me about apartments. Like after enough deliveries, you get like a sixth sense for apartments.
Sure.
But some are ridiculous to like navigate through. And I'm always bummed when I have to do that. And especially if it's one where I got to like actually park my car and like go huffing with some big flower arrangement through a complex.
Right.
You know, that's.
Well, I know with the apartments, my daughter told me she won't deliver to them. She just, because A, they don't tip, and B, you know, it's a time suck. By the time, you know, if it's a locked apartment, which most of them are, you can't just go up and deliver it. You know, plus it's, you know, she's a woman, so it's dangerous. It's dangerous to go up into an apartment complex with a bag of food.
And homes, like most people have dogs these days. Yeah. And you know, the woman that actually referred me for this job, she's had all kinds of bad stuff happen to her.
How bad?
Well, like she's been bitten by dogs, like I think 3 different times.
Sure.
Because I think she does things the way that the owner asks you to do it, which isn't how I do it, but he wants you to go knock on the door and then just sit there and wait, holding the flowers and like wait till they get there and then hand them the flowers. When I started doing it for them in the height of the pandemic, people were like freaked out. Anybody they didn't know, they didn't want to be anywhere near.
Right.
And I wasn't about to wear a mask or anything to go do any of that stuff.
Sure.
So I was more, and the other thing he said is then you have to go into the app and you have to, you know, take a picture of it. If they got it, you have to go to the sign for it screen. They have to sign. You have to give them their phone. You have to sign for it. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, how about left at door? Here's the photo. Fuck you. And I'm out.
Yeah.
And so Laura gets bit by dogs because she waits for them to open the door with their 3 or 4 dogs they have, or chihuahuas or whatever crazy dogs. I don't. Also, she's, I think, tripped and fallen and like poked her eye, and blamed the homeowner too. And like each case, I mean, she's gotten paid on these. You know what I mean? People have homeowners insurance. You know, hey, you shouldn't have that stump in your yard. You know, whatever.
Right.
You could fall, you know, and eat shit. One positive thing about this is it does get me out. I live in beautiful San Diego, so I could get out and get some sun for a few hours. I probably walk at least like 1.5 miles doing the job for a few hours. And then I take a walk when I get home too, which is about another 2 miles to the pier and back, just to make sure I get my like 3 to 5 miles of exercise in.
Right.
So it's helpful for that. But, you know, I've been on top of my bills and things have been good. I'm not ashamed to like do a side thing on top of being a rock star.
Well, I mean, look, you can be a rock star all day long, but if you ain't paying the bills, then you gotta do more.
Well, most of those guys aren't living here in California anymore.
Right.
You know, they had to get out. It was way too expensive to be a rock star and, you know, not have to go deliver flowers. Like,
well, you got to be more the star part than the rock part to live in LA. You got to be a star to afford it, you know?
Right. There's different circumstances. Some people have been grandfathered into stuff up there, or they've had family that have passed on and estate. But I'm happy to report my parents are doing great and they're going to be around, you know, for a lot longer.
Right. They got a long time to go. Exactly.
Our channel's blowing up now.
Yeah. How about that? We're getting some love on the channel, man.
I know. We finally got over that 1,000 hump. So thank you.
Yeah.
To those of you that subscribed.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of people are watching. You know, we're getting much bigger numbers the last few weeks of shows, which has been great. And, you know, I think it has a lot to do with, we've had some really good guests, which has not sucked. Dude, how great was that last week with David Thibodeau and Andrew Hagar. That was just fucking good, man.
Yeah. Looking back on it, I took a photo. I always do that on my Facebook or whatever. I'll take a photo of us live at the show. I had Andrew Hagar in there with us, and he looks so much like his dad. It's ridiculous. I think he tries not to when he plays live. He has his hair like a different color and whatever, but just his face alone took me back. I feel like I'm looking at Sammy Hagar in like 1990 or I don't know
I wish I would have explored a little more about why he doesn't get the attention that Wolfie Van Halen does. Because his music's just as good.
It is, actually. And I made a comment that it was similar to Wolfie's music as far as like it would be on the same radio station.
Yeah. Well, it would. I mean, if you listen to it, it is similar. And I mean, I get it. Wolfie, the son of, the all-time guitar god, you're a guitar player. I'm sure he's number 1, 2, or 3 in your list. He's in the top 5 of everybody's list on guitar, I think. Is that fair?
Eddie?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, is he number 1 on your list?
He always was. Yeah. For me, he was the number 1.
Yeah. I mean, of any style, people of any style list Eddie Van Halen in their top. Maybe not their number 1, because I know it's like cliche now. So everybody tries to have the hipster pick. Everybody tries to say, you know what, man, it's Andreas Kisser, man, or somebody, that's good, but you certainly don't think was innovative like Eddie. But, he's a hip pick. So I get why Wolfie gets the attention. But, Andrew's been through the same amount of shit as Wolfie. Really? I mean, he's had to deal with, in fact, to be honest, he's probably been through more shit because half of the Van Halen people hate his dad. That's gotta suck.
His song actually reminded me a little bit of a Sammy Hagar song, like the underneath groove kind of. Even though it had a modern production, he wasn't singing like the same style as his dad. The song had like almost a classic rock chord progression of like old early Hagar or Montrose or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good stuff, and I mean, he's got all the pieces to be successful. And like we were saying, his guitar player in his band is Trey Lukather, who's Steve Lukather's son. So you've got that whole, a lot of lineage there between Toto and obviously, Van Halen or Sammy Hagar or Montrose or, pick one of his bands. Just to me, it seemed like it should be bigger than a few hundred people hearing it on YouTube. That's all I was thinking, but
well, they're going to hear about him now.
That's right.
Through our show.
Go right to our channel and you can check out the interview and hear a little piece. So
that's right.
Well, dude, speaking of people that people are going to hear about, we need to get to our guest. We have a great guest tonight. Somebody I've never talked to before on anything that I've done. I'm a huge fan of Crowbar. Love them. And Todd Strange, Sexy T as he's known in the Crowbar world, is going to be on here in a second to talk about his new band. His new band is called I Am. It features him and Kirk from Crowbar, and it features Kenny Hickey and Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative. And I mean, that's a true supergroup. That's like an underground supergroup, no?
Yeah, agreed.
It's totally cool. The band is great. At least the song I've heard is great. So we will find out all about I Am. We'll find out about how this band came together, what they're planning to do. We'll play a little bit of the song, and we will do all that next, right here on Chris Akin Presents. Hey everybody, it's Chris Akin from all the shows, and wanted to share with you one of my other passions other than music. That, of course, being coffee. Anybody that's listened to me knows that I love coffee. And I have found another great brand, ladies and gentlemen, that you guys need to check out. Simply named, no gimmicks to it at all. It's just coffee brand coffee. It's fantastic coffee, and I am not kidding you. They have everything that you would possibly want. Their coffee is excellent. I like the Roaster's Choice, but they have the pumpkin spice and all that other stuff, all the flavored stuff that you might like. They've got K-Cups for you. They've got cold brews. They offer tea. They've got cocoa. They literally have everything that you would want. So if you're looking for a great coffee, if you don't want to just settle for the crap that they sell you at the grocery store, this is another fine alternative. Coffee Brand Coffee. Just go to www.bit.ly/CMScoffee. One more time, bit.ly/CMScoffee, and use the coupon code CMSPN to save a little bit of money, and you can get some of the best coffee that is available today. So one more time, it is Coffee Brand Coffee. We love it here at the Classic Metal Show, and you will too. So get some today, folks. Coffee Brand Coffee. Right back here on Chris Akin Presents with myself and Mr. Eric Ferentinos, and joining us now to talk about a brand new band called I Am. They have a single called Dreams Always Die with the Sun. That's, I'm assuming, leading us into a collection of new music. And this is a super group of all super groups. So here to talk about it is you certainly recognize him from the old days of Crowbar, and you might recognize him from Down if you caught some of those early Down shows as well as I did. But now we're going to catch up with him and see what's up with I Am. He is the one and only Mr. Sexy T himself, Todd Strange. Todd, how are you, man?
I'm good. How you all doing?
Excellent, man.
Doing great, Todd. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Todd, I got to tell you, man, as a fan of Crowbar and as a fan of Down, I was thrilled when I saw your name on a press release doing anything because it's just, I mean, those, especially the early Crowbar for me, those records were kind of those and the Pantera stuff and obviously early Metallica. That's the kind of stuff that took me away from being a hair metal guy to being a hard metal guy. And you guys were always kind of like, for me, you were always like an under the radar band. It was like people that knew, but most people didn't know. Most people knew Metallica and they didn't realize what you guys were doing underneath, in the underground. Just great music, man. And
Thank you.
That for you, when you look back at it, man, what do you look back and see? Do you look back and see it as a true part of the underground movement, or was it just what you were doing at the time, or what?
Well, we didn't know what the hell we were doing at the time, I mean, it was new. Everybody was doing like fast stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to be different. I mean, the early stuff is really Melvin's kind of oriented, really influenced.
Right.
At the time, Jimmy Bauer, he was heavily into the Gluey Porch Treatment album. So we, I mean, whenever they had come out of a hardcore band, Kirk and Jimmy and all that, they kind of disbanded, and then we were the Slugs.
Right.
And then we kind of run our course for a couple of years as the Slugs, and we had actually broke up. It was just kind of like me and Kirk. We just like, man, this ain't going nowhere. So, and then 2 weeks later, we got an offer from Red Light Records. Okay. So we're like, we don't have a band.
Right. Not so fast, guys.
So that's when we actually got like Craig Nudemacher, and we got the original guitar player back with us, Kevin Noonan, and all that stuff. And we did the first Crowbar record actually in Chicago. And we spent a month in Chicago on the Red Light label. And actually, I mean, nobody really knew what to do with Crowbar at the time. I mean, the record, it was new. I mean, we wasn't Slayer. We wasn't Pantera. And Yeah, so I mean, I think some of it was kind of finding itself, and before it kind of got popular, I kind of laugh when I hear everybody saying, "Oh, Korn was the first band to down to."
No, definitely not.
I mean, well, I mean, nothing against it. Yeah, they doing it, and they probably get more recognition than a lot of bands that do it. But I mean, we were doing it in '89, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, the interesting thing, Todd, is that when you look at it now, where sludge metal and doom metal became. I mean, it's bigger than ever now, but
Yeah.
it all comes from that sound that you guys really introduced. I mean, that thick, fat, kind of a slower sound where, like you said, everybody was going 100 miles an hour, and then
Right.
here came you guys at 58 beats a minute, but just certainly heavy as hell. When you look at it now, it's become a hallmark of that sound. But back then, that had to be nervous for you guys trying to make a living off of a style that really had not been created yet.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, we were like heavily with the feedback and all that between songs because, I mean, they just sit there and look at us,
Right.
I mean, here like we'd be in New Orleans playing a show with like Exhorder because they were the hot band.
Sure.
Back then, and I mean, we actually had record labels tell us, "Well, y'all not Exhorder." Well, no shit, we ain't Exhorder. We're not trying to be another Exhorder,
Right.
And I mean, that's what I tell all these new bands. Don't look at what's going on right now. Look to the future whenever you're creating a band, because by the time, if you get lucky enough to break a band, which it's hard as hell right now to break a new band, that shit will be gone, whatever you're doing today. So, I mean, you got to look to the future, to what you can do, and don't ever let anybody tell you what you're doing is not relevant.
Right on. Definitely. Well, I definitely want to get into IMI, but I just have one or two more. Like I told you before we started, I've never had the chance to talk to you, and I've always wanted to as a fan. I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure you've heard this story from a million different people before. I'm sure I'm not unique to this, but I knew nothing about Crowbar until I'm Broken came out from Pantera. And I saw Phil with the shirt. And sight unseen, I went to the record store the next day and bought the album. Just didn't know anything about it, Well,
I mean, Phil did a lot for the underground scene in New Orleans,
Sure.
Getting recognition for everyone, wearing all the shirts and all that. I mean, he's still doing it,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the thing about Philip is he's a fan,
right,
of all this genre of music, and even some really extreme
right,
music, But I mean, I was like everybody else, really, into the British kind of invasion of metal growing up. And then I had one band, and I tell everybody to this day, that changed my life when I seen them, because I was like, well, let's just put it like, I was always too fat to be the dude in spandex, so I couldn't go that route.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I was fortunate enough in a club in New Orleans. I had a friend of mine that was in a metal band, and they had a chance to open up for a band that I know everybody heard of, and if you haven't, shame on you, was Celtic Frost.
Oh, yeah.
And I seen Celtic Frost and Voivod in a little club in New Orleans, Jimmy's, and they had about 6 people at this show.
Wow.
And first time I ever heard it, and I mean, whenever I heard it, it fucking floored me.
Right.
And I was just like, is this really happening? And that's all I thought about after that. And, opening my mind to a lot of things. And then the Carnivore Retaliation album. We used to jam that going back and forth to practice.
Okay.
And, and I mean, a thing whenever we were in Chicago, actually recording the very first Obedience Through Suffering record, they actually had Typo Negative, Biohazard, and Exploited on tour. And we went to the show, and we got there, and it was like Typo Negative's last song. But it was incredible.
Absolutely, man. Well, and that's a good place to lead into where we are today with I Am.
Yep.
I am, for people that don't know, it features your old bandmate, your twice old bandmate, I guess, Kirk, is playing guitar, and features the two of the guys from Type O, Kenny Hickey and Johnny Kelly, playing their respective instruments in a true, what I would say is a true metal supergroup. Why don't maybe give us?
Have you had a chance? Did you have a chance to hear the track that we recorded?
I've heard. I have heard the track. Yeah, it's
okay.
It's fantastic, but it's not what I expected. Quite honestly.
Well, that's what I say. I mean, there's going to be people that's going to be like, "Oh, this ain't Type O Negative. Oh, this ain't Crowbar," but you can hear the elements of it in there. I mean, you're not, and yeah, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of got that old feel, but kind of like a new sound, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to throw people, and this is only my opinion, but I think what's going to throw people is the vocal. People are looking for that thick,
right,
almost type of a vocal, and it's not. It's a clean vocal, which it's definitely over that the musical bed that you would expect.
Yeah, but the pipes on Kenny.
Yeah,
Kenny's got to say. Well, yeah, I mean, Kirk was like, "I'm not singing, you sing." And Kenny's like, "No, you got to do backups or something." So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it was. I got the Andrew Spalding, which I'm sure you spoke with from Corpse Paint Records. He's actually the one that put us all together.
Okay.
And he did merch for Type O and Danzig and a bunch of other bands and all that. He actually was living in New Orleans for a while, and whenever I went back to Crowbar, that's when I actually met Andrew, and we became like drinking buddies and all that. We had a little neighborhood bar that we would always sneak off, and he's like, "You coming out?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll come out," because we lived in the same neighborhood, believe it or not. And yeah, I mean, Andrew's one of these people. Whenever you meet him, you instantly, he's never met a stranger. I don't think
right.
Andrew has. And yeah, so I got the call and all that from him. He goes, "Man," he goes, "I'm putting this together, this band." He goes, "I want you to play bass." And I was like, I don't know. It's been 5 years since I played with a band. So, I mean, I'm kind of like, I was like, I don't know. And my wife's like, "I think you need to do it. I think it would be good for you." I was like, okay. Well, I called him back and said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And all of a sudden, I mean, plane tickets showed up, and we were in Florida like, 3 weeks later. And, Kenny and Kirk had some ideas as far as, writing and all that goes, a couple of parts here and a couple of parts there. And I was nervous. I think everybody was kind of nervous about, what the hell are we going to do? What's it going to sound like and all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, whenever we left, it was kind of like, did we really just do this in 3 days? Wow. I mean, I know it's just one song, but I mean, we went in with nothing. And that's like, Johnny's like, "Man, I've never done it like this." Him and Kenny both, he said, usually everything's all planned out and we did it. And I was just like, yeah. And I mean, we did it at Raja Lima is from Less Than Jake. We did it at his studio actually in Gainesville.
Right.
And he was super cool, great ear for music, very comfortable atmosphere. So,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it all just clicked. It clicked. It really did. And I mean, I think it left all of us wanting more and a bit of satisfaction, I guess.
Right. Definitely. Well, what was it? I want to go back on something you said there, that you have not been personally in a band for 5 years. What's the reason? Did you just kind of outgrow it, or don't like the touring, or what was the reason that you stepped out?
For family, to work on the family thing and all that stuff. And we got this ranch now in Texas, where we got all these. I got a buffalo that is my wife's like bottle baby. So I mean, American Bison, whose name is Ronnie James Buffalo, and you know who that's after.
Nice.
He's after.
That's rare to have a bison, right? I mean.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, we get the fences fixed right now because he tears everything up. But yeah, I mean, we got peacocks running around here. I mean, we got bulldogs, English bulldogs. I got donkeys. I got longhorns. I got miniature horses. We do a lot of rescues and all that. People who get these animals and mistreat them and all that. Not that I'm some great farmer or whatever, but I mean,
right.
We haven't lost anybody.
That's great.
And that's what the vet always said. He goes, "Well, you're not losing anybody, so you must be doing something right."
That's right. do you raise to sell, or do you raise to?
No, no, because my wife gives a name to everything, and once it's named, it ain't going nowhere. You know. Right. I'll go before the buffalo goes. Let's put it like
that. You look tastier than the buffalo.
I don't know about that, but I mean, I keep telling her all the time, "But we get a bunch of hamburger out of him."
Too funny.
Buffalo burgers.
Yep,
that's right. Very nice, man. Well,
but yeah, it's nice. I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you wake out in the morning, look out the front door. They got deer in the front. So I mean, you know.
Right.
It's definitely
different than
peaceful.
what you grew up with. It's different from what you grew up with in
yeah.
For sure.
Well, I grew up in New Orleans, but I mean, I hear it's done got worse in the last few years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
certainly.
Anyway.
Well, Todd, moving back to the band, you know, you guys, like you said, you guys just kind of came together and wrote. Do you think that's going to be how this band grows? Is that you guys won't write in advance and do MP3s, and you'll just write when you get together, or no?
Well, we all get together at the end of June again in New Orleans this time, and I know Kirk and Kenny, they kind of throw some ideas back and forth, but whenever everything's basically all arranged and put together in the rooms, so. Okay. At least that was my end. Nothing is going to be fully written,
right?
Until we get, I mean, like the lyrics. Literally, Kenny wrote the lyrics the day he was supposed to sing them.
Wow.
So I mean,
sure.
He goes, "Oh, I got this vocal medley." So
I get it though. When your back's against the wall like that, it forces your brain to fire off in a way that it doesn't typically. It's like a fight or flight mode. That you go in the studio and you actually come out with the best stuff, even if you had 2 years to come up with it, you probably wouldn't have under any other circumstance.
Well, not only I think it's more natural because you don't have time to overthink it.
Right.
I mean, that's most musicians say, well, maybe if I do it this way, maybe this will be better, but not necessarily. Usually, the first thing that comes out of your head is that's the money.
Right. Well, and the thing is with most musicians, in fact, every musician I know, is y'all are never satisfied. No matter what you do, no matter how great it is, if you give you 5 more minutes, you'll be like, yeah, maybe I could change this just a little, or I could add this, or I could do that. That's just how musicians work. You guys are never happy with what you create.
Yeah, well, that's for the stage. You try new things, so.
Right.
Re-editions.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
let me try this tonight. Oh, that didn't work. We won't do that
no more. Right. Very true. Well, Todd, how many songs do you guys have so far that you've worked on? Just the one, or?
Just the one. So phase 2 will be coming, and I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, they just have the one song and all, and actually getting as much recognition off this one song that nobody's heard except 10 seconds of,
Sure.
But I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, we're getting a lot of good feedback off of it, and it left us wanting to do more.
Sure.
Like, I mean, we were riding in the van listening to it and all of that, and I was just like, damn, I'm sitting here tapping my foot, and I mean, the lyrics is in my head even before I actually knew just hearing what he was singing in the studio, Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, okay.
Right. Well, you know what? Just as a fan, I can tell you why there's so much attention to it. It's because the projects that you guys have all done previous are bands that people like, that underground fans like and have really attached to. It's like, I mean, let's be honest, Crowbar, Typo Negative, Silvertune, Pale Horse Named Death. Pick any one of these bands, Kingdom of Sorrow, all of those bands that you guys have all been a part of. are really big favorites on the underground, but have never been over commercialized. So there's a collection of guys like me that know all those bands and are like, yeah, that's my shit. And, you know, it hasn't been bastardized. And I think that's why there's so much anticipation for IM, is because it's another cool band that we can have that maybe the mainstream will not pollute.
Well, not only that, I think right now, I mean, you got the bands that the amazing thing is all these old bands that are doing good, and you got a certain genre that's doing okay, but actually, I think the music scene's kind of stale as far as there's no more rock bands. No more rock. They haven't had a new rock band really come out, and I can't tell you how long.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm wrong and I just haven't heard it yet, but, you know, I mean, you don't. I mean, you got everybody wants to put a label on you. Oh, well, this is this is that. Oh, I can't like that because this is like this. Nah, no. Yeah. You know, I mean, if you looked at my record collection on my phone, you'd be like, you listen to this? You know, I mean, all day long I work in a shop on tractors, and all these guys up here, that's all they listen to is country. Although I got them where we won't listen to no new country because it's garbage. But, you know, I mean.
Yeah, no, I get it. Look, if you looked at my phone, it'd be the same way. You'll be like, what is this? You know, I'll have Prince or Hanson or, you know, whatever. You know, it's
right.
Hanson. Well, I do have Hanson in there.
But, wait, do you find yourself stuff when you were younger saying, oh, that shit sucked? All of a sudden you're like, wait up, it's in my phone now.
Oh, yeah.
Now Chris is all, bop, 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 bop.
I do that a lot, but I'm such a musical dork. You know, I mean, for me personally, not only does it all sound good, but it actually sounds good mixing against itself. When a playlist for me goes from Cannibal Corpse to Prince, I'm not like, whoa. You know, to me, it's like, okay, cool. You know, it just fits.
Exactly.
There's a lot of us. It's a weird thing, Todd, and I'll bet you find this. There's a lot of us that are out there like that. There's a lot of us that appreciate music without a genre label.
Right.
You know, and I'm, you know, I could listen to pop music by M from 1979 and think that's just as good as, I don't know, whatever Seven Dust song is coming out, because I can just look at the musicality of it and be like, man, there was some talent there.
Or you find a song that a lot of times in the car, and all of a sudden you're sitting there singing it and you're like, wait up, I knew this shit. You know, like in the truck and all that, I listen to yacht rock all the time.
Dude, you are hitting my buttons, man.
Anything takes Todd Strange away to where he's going.
Exactly. Yacht rock is fun, man. But you're so right. If you would have pulled out an Air Supply record or something as a kid, you would have taken a beating. You know.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, this was my mom's favorite record. Now I'm sitting here singing Ambrosia and stuff.
Right.
That's great.
Sitting around
Jefferson Starship.
Yeah, like, exactly.
That's what's on most of the time at my place here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if you play a lot of heavy music and all that, you got to give your ears and your mind a break from some of that, you know. Right. And I mean, like, blues has always been like, I mean, Robin Trower and the Government Mule, when it came out, I mean, God, I fell in love with that.
Sure.
And I mean, even like Warren Haynes' solo stuff, man, I got a copy of that. Where was I? Was I in Europe? I might have been in Europe, and I got a cassette tape of it, and it was just like that never left my cassette player for the longest time. And then Alan Woody, he's like one of my favorite bass players of all time. Alan Woody, he just had such a groove to him, and I mean, to see him live, you know, when he was alive, it was just like, it was just so effortlessly him playing, you know, and it was just like, whoa.
Sure. Well, with that musical fandom, what led you to such heavy music that you went to?
A rebellious youngster.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like I said, whenever I seen, you know, the Celtic Frost, which I just seen the Triptychon redo it in Houston a few weeks ago. Me and Drew went down Yeah. It was amazing. They sounded amazing, and yeah. So I don't know. It was just something inside. I mean, it was like, damn, this is where I need to be.
Right.
You know, it was like something hit you in your soul, in my soul at least, and it was just like, damn, I can relate to this.
Right on, man. Definitely.
You know, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe. You know, I mean, it just. I guess it was kind of like church, you know.
Right.
But some people, I mean, you know, it's just like, I mean, I think I sat there with my mouth open the whole time, like, you know, just with this stupid look on my face, because I'd never heard anything like that, you know.
Right.
And this is what, 86, I think.
Yeah.
Because he was reflecting on that he played there for the first time in '86 in Houston, and I think that was the same tour I seen them on. So
okay, awesome, man. Well, dude, you certainly made the right choice, because obviously Crowbar has had a very long run, and you had, you know, you and Kirk really are the kind of the mainstays of the band. You're both, the two of you are they're the longest. What keeps
he's still doing it. Yeah. You know, and I seen a video that Robin posted, his wife, of them playing Grease for the first time, and it was phenomenal. Right. You know, and I was just like, damn. So I mean, it's almost like, you know, they're like a slow moving locomotive. I mean, they just keep going, pushing and pushing and pushing. And I mean, you know, it's, you know, as well, it's hard to keep a band together.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I credit Kirk for doing that, because he's been through so many people. But I mean, his determination is, you know, to keep it going. You know.
Right. Well, and not only has he kept it going, but he's kept it going without sacrificing the sound. The sound is still very similar. It's
yeah.
You know, it's still relevant. It hasn't changed because the members have changed.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, he writes the majority of the stuff anyway with it, but I mean, yeah, and you know, with a Crowbar record that you're gonna get true to form, and it's gonna be Crowbar every time. You know, you ain't got to worry about putting it on, and it's gonna be, you know, a sellout record or something like that. Or it's going to be hip hop or something like that. You know, Crowbar is going to be Crowbar. Right. You know, and he's managed to you know, to evolve the sound and all that other stuff to where it's, to me, it's more of their own sound as ever, you know?
Right. Do you ever think about going back or no?
Well, I mean, like I tell my wife, either you're bred to do this kind of line of work or you're not. It takes a special person to do it. Right now, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I miss it. I miss it every day, especially whenever I'm sitting there sweating, working on a tractor. I'm like, this ain't where I belong.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, you know, I'm happy where I'm at right now in life. So, I mean, and that's hard to achieve sometimes.
Sure. One last question before we get out of here that has nothing to do with any of this stuff, but you know, you obviously know the player, so I got to ask, and I'm sure you're going to get it in every interview. The Pantera, I'm just going to say the Pantera thing. I don't want to call it a reunion. I don't know to call it a tribute, whatever it is, the Pantera thing that's going on right now. You obviously know Philip. You know, what's your impressions? You know, is it a cash grab? Is it a true salute? Is it how do you read it?
Well, I mean, they're definitely making cash, but I don't think that's the driving force behind doing this.
Okay.
By no means. I mean, because Philip's been successful with all of his bands, no matter. Sure. You know, I mean, Rex has been successful with a lot of what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, and Charlie and Zach, I mean, they're successful. Just from what I don't know everything, and I'll never claim to know everything.
Sure.
But I know Charlie and Vinnie Paul were very close and very tight.
Right.
And I also know that Zach and Daryl were very close and very tight. So the people that they have doing it, and from what I hear, I mean, and from what I've heard, it sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, whenever you look up there, no, it's not Vinny and it's not a dime, but it's, you know, I mean, I think kids needed to hear that. Does that make sense? Because they're turning a whole new generation onto the music, you know. And I mean, I'm sure, and you got to realize they came around when music was really stagnant, and you know, I've heard so many people say, yeah, they saved metal, you know.
Yeah. No, it's true. I can tell you, I'm going to 2 of the shows, one with Metallica and one just them, and I can't wait.
Right.
You know, and
yeah. That's my wife's phone.
Okay. I was like, what? I'm looking around seeing what I got going off here. But no, I was just going to say that, you know, even as somebody that I saw Pantera like 40 times, they're like my favorite band of all time. So, you know, as that fan, I'm going into it knowing that it's not what I saw in the day, but I just want to hear those songs again. You know, I just want to hear those songs live and loud.
But you know what you need to do? You need to go there when they're in the middle of doing something. Just close your eyes.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. Don't look and see what's up there. And, you know, I mean, I've seen interviews with Charlie said, you know, he really did his homework on how Vinny played it. And, I mean, the same thing with Zach. So I don't think it's all about the cash. Yeah, they're going to make cash. But, you know, I mean, I think it's wonderful, actually. More power to him, man.
Right on, man. Well, Todd, we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to end with we're going to play a clip from "Dreams Always Die with the Sun," the new single, and
which comes out June 2nd.
Yes, June 2nd it comes out, and people definitely. Is there going to be any physical product to buy with this, or is it just going to be?
Oh yeah. No. We got physical product.
Okay.
And we actually. I mean, I know. Like he did CDs, he did cassettes, and he did like a floppy disk or whatever of it.
Okay.
And he can get it from what I think he's even got some shirts made up or whatever. I don't even know. So I haven't got any of it.
Right. Do you know where we would tell people to go to get it?
I think Corpse Paint Records. I think he has it, and we actually we worked a distribution deal, so you should be able to go any place and get it. Okay. Any place that sells music.
Excellent.
So
very good, man. Well, all right, man. Well, one more time. The name of the band is I Am. The first single, June 2nd, Dreams Always Die with the Sun. It's great. I've heard it. It's a fantastic taste that got me wanting more, and I think that's all it's supposed to do. So, Todd, good luck with it, man, and I hope it does well. And here we go. We'll play a little taste of the video right now. This is Dreams Always Die with the Sun, right here on Chris Akin Presents.
myhappydesires.com. Visit us at myhappydesires.com and add some toys to your toy box. Let your imagination be the guide to your stress relief. myhappydesires.com has everything for the perfect play night. Alone or not, you choose. Fuel your desires without breaking the bank. myhappydesires.com.
Right back here on Chris Akin Presents with Chris and Erik. And Erik, what'd you think of Todd Strange, man? Cool guy, right?
He is a cool guy. I mean, he's a little intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. Very cool nonetheless.
Yeah, no kidding. Don't cross him the wrong way or you'll be food for the bison.
Yeah. You'll be getting hit with a crowbar.
That's right. Or run over with a tractor or something. Dude, isn't it weird how these guys, you know, when they get out of music, it's always weird or fascinating to me to hear what they do when they get away from music. You know, because most of the guys that I know, and probably you as well, music's all they've ever done. You know, like Stephen. Stephen does not have a lot of stories about, you know, working at a grocery store or being a farmer. You know, Stephen's been a rock star since he was like, 18 years old or whatever.
Well, certainly playing that long, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think I'm sure he had jobs before he was, you know, before Rat took off, but
not many. It kind of does piss you off a little to find that out. You know what I mean? Like, especially for normal people like me who've been fired more times than a Civil War musket. I think he's only had maybe two jobs, two quick jobs, as a youngster there.
And none of them were serious. He wasn't building a career. He was making enough money so he could fund Mickey Rat is what he was doing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's weird when you hear about guys that have had success like Kurt or like Todd rather. And, and then he's like, yeah, I own a farm. I've got donkeys and chickens. And, it's like, wow, who would have thought? Too funny, but good guy. Check out I Am. Just look them up. They're pretty much all over. Go to their homepage, google.com, and look them up and you'll find them. So I Am is the band. Great stuff. More stuff coming. And we will hear more from them, I'm sure, in the future. But moving forward, dude, I don't know if you saw this news in the world of rock and roll, but there was sort of a shakeup in a band that has shakeups, a lot of shakeups. The band, yeah, exactly. And that's what I wonder if it's how it went. John Corabi, who I'm sure you've run into on the road. Huh?
Yes. That. Oh, okay.
No, you're good. You're good. It just kicked out for me. Now you know John?
Affirmative.
Okay.
Yes, I've met John on not several, but I guess a handful of occasions, if you will.
Well, he has returned to the Dead Daisies.
Yeah.
Replacing Glenn Hughes.
Mm-hmm. Another great musician.
And you know who Glenn Hughes replaced?
No.
John Corabi.
What is going on?
That band. This is
incestuous.
It's the weirdest band ever. They're a band that 99% of the people can't name a single song by. Can you name a Dead Daisy song?
Negative.
Yeah, that's how most people are. But it's an all-star band. Obviously, it has, Doug Aldridge is in it.
Right.
Marco Mendoza's been in it. They've had a litany of now I think Corabi is the third. He's the second and the fourth singer. They had they started with John Stevens from In Excess. Then they had Corabi. Then they had Glenn Hughes. Now they're back to Corabi. So it's this, Brian Ticci's in that band now. Dean Castronovo has been in that band at one time. It is a true, look, the bottom line to that band is that they've got the one guy, the guitar player, David Lowy, who's like a billionaire. And it's his plaything. And my assessment is it's his plaything. And from talking to these guys kind of on the record and some off the record, he makes it well worth their while to be in that band. It's like, if you're in that band, you might as well be in Metallica. You're being first class treatment. They fly private jet to every place that they go. There's no busing. There's none of that.
Are they looking for a guitar player? Is there anything going on with Doug Aldrich? Is he under the weather?
Well, you could, Brian, don't you? Brian Ticci?
I do. He's a fantastic drummer, man. He's a really great drummer.
You ought to reach out to him and say, hey, if Doug's ever under the weather, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Willing to fly on a private jet. But yeah, it's the weirdest thing with that band, man. Because the guy has a ton of money, that's why they get all the breaks that they've gotten, I think. And I like them. I'm not trying to say it like they're a shit band or not. They're a great band. I really enjoy them. But they had a ton of momentum going with Corabi that first time. Like they were going strong. They opened a Kiss tour. I don't know if they bought onto it or not, but they still opened for Kiss for extended dates, which is, that's about as good of exposure as you can get. And then they just fired Corabi and went with Hughes. So they, and I mean, Hughes obviously is fantastic, but.
Well, obviously it must have been on good terms. It wasn't like he fired, it's like they had an opportunity more. It sounds more like they had an opportunity to have him come in.
Well, yeah, I mean, he came in under, it's a weird thing. And I'm going to speak out my ass a little bit here. I don't know this to be true or not, but I've heard that the whole Dead Daisies thing is definitely under first thing you do before you are in the band is sign the NDA.
Okay.
And it's run like a business.
Chris and I didn't sign one.
No, we did not sign one. I didn't sign one. But I've followed this band kind of since the start, and certainly with Corabi, who's one of my absolute favorite singers of all time. That Motley Crue record to me is untouchable.
Right.
But I've never, not one time, and there's been like 20 people through that band, there has not been 1 ounce of fuck those guys. No, nothing. It's all, even when Corabi, and I know Corabi was fired, not his contract ran out. I know for a fact that happened. And and I know for an absolute fact that he wasn't happy, but not a word, not a single word was ever uttered. Like these guys fucked me over, or it literally was like, well, they're on to Glenn Hughes now. That was the line. And like even now with Hughes is out there on tour. He just announced the tour. He's doing like a co-headline tour with Yngwie Malmsteen, where Malmsteen is doing his greatest hits, and then Hughes is doing the 50-year anniversary of the Burn album from Deep Purple. He's playing it from start to finish, which is cool. I've seen that tour, and it's great. But Glenn Hughes, not a peep. Not a word, not word one out of him about leaving the Dead Daisies. Not even a post saying, hey, I won't be with that band any longer. Just, hey, here's my new tour. I'm out with Yngwie. Come and see me.
So he's singing for in Yngwie's band now?
No. He's singing in dude, it's the coolest. I'm not a Deep Purple fan. Let me take that back because I don't want it to sound the wrong way.
You don't like the Doors and you don't like Deep Purple?
I do not like the Doors. I like Deep Purple. I don't love Deep Purple enough to dive deep into the records and be like, dude, this track or that track. My Deep Purple appreciation is the same Deep Purple appreciation anybody that has a classic rock station has.
Sure.
I like Smoke on the Water. I like Knocking at Your Back Door. I like, Perfect Strangers. But if you ask me, I like Burn. I like Highway Star. I like all the very peripheral songs of Deep Purple. I'm not a deep dive guy into them at all. But I went, my girl Kelly loves Deep Purple. So we went, this is a week before I saw you with Bow Wow Wow. It was right before the pandemic. And Hughes came here to Cleveland doing just this tour. He played the Burn album start to finish. And it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. That dude may be old as dirt, but he can bring it. And he had a fantastic band with him. And he just brought it. And the cool thing about, I don't know if he's still doing it on this tour, but on that tour with your tickets, or I don't remember if it was with your tickets or if you had to buy it, but I bought it or it came, whatever. You got a recording of the show. So it was pretty cool. You'd go to the show and then like a day later you get an email like, here's your recording of the show that you were at. And it was just a cool thing. It was cool to see. And
I've seen that before. You go to a website and you get your download or your photo you took.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, it's definitely cool. My thing though is with that, going back to Dead Daisies.
Sure.
I'd like to hear what happened. I'd like to know if there was a bad blood or a blowout or not. And it looks like we're never going to know that about any of the guys that have left that band. Which is, I don't know. You're in a band, man. Is it better or worse that everything is just people are in, people are out, nobody knows why?
We should all have to sign NDAs.
But is that better or is that worse? I mean, I get that internally it's probably better that nobody's out there shit talking anybody else. But I almost wonder if externally, by not acknowledging it, if every interview you do, you get the question and you politely dodge where it gets annoying. Like I don't know. I'm sure Stephen is tired as fuck of being asked about, hey, is there going to be a Rat reunion? What's going on with Warren and Juan and Bobby? Are you getting back to, I'm sure Stephen has, and I've interviewed Stephen and asked that dumb question. And, I'm sure he gets tired of finding a million different ways to say none of your fucking business.
Right. Well, let me ask you, have any of the guys from the Dead Daisies have you interviewed any of them since they've been in this band? Like, did they tell you that before the interview? Did they go, look, we signed these things, so don't ask me about this, that, or this?
I have not heard it from the band. I'll put it that way. But I know a lot of people in their circle
right,
that have told me that.
Okay. Yeah. Cause if I had something that I couldn't say, I would probably tell the interviewer ahead of time, save us some time here and awkwardness and just stay off this. Like, ask me about this, that, which even the interviews that I've done, that comes up. They usually ask that kind of thing. Is it okay to ask about that or this? Yeah. They want to know ahead of time.
Well, how many interviews have you done that you didn't have to talk about? Have you been asked to be in Rat?
Most of the ones in the last couple of years I haven't, but that's come up. But I didn't used to do a ton of interviews.
Right.
I was almost intentionally kind of flying under the radar for a long time there.
Right. And now until you became a celebrity here on Chris Akin Presents.
Right. So I was tapped for fame by Mr.
Right.
Akin over here.
I think you were tapped for fame long before I found you. That's for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me how a band, and you could talk on this, dude, because you're in a band, is it difficult to switch guys back and forth?
Oh, that's a great question. It can be difficult. Because especially depending on the band, there could be a certain feel, certainly with Rat music, Blotzer had a very kind of specific feel. The guitarist definitely had a very kind of unique sound. Like, people think playing the Rat songs is pretty easy. And I think most guitar players know at least a couple Rat riffs. I know I always did, even before playing with Steven, but they're probably playing them wrong for one. And two, getting the sound, it's like, it's harder than you think. Just the little things, on the rhythm, just even like how long you're kind of holding the
right.
It's all in the hands. So as far as guitars and things, certainly there's like a learning curve there when guys come in for whatever reason. Chris Hagar was pretty smooth because he was a Mickey Rat guy,
right,
to start with. So that was pretty seamless there as far as him knowing that vibe. But drummers, different drummers can change the feel of a band.
Sure.
But over 20 years I've been in the band, we have, unfortunately gone through a good amount of guys for whatever reason. But this is probably the lineup now is probably the most praised lineup so far that people have said sound the best.
Right.
So I'll give the current boys that.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, and you know what, dude, it's funny because the one instrument, and you mentioned it, that I don't think people give enough credit to, but it jumps out at you when it changes, is the drummer. Right. And I'll point to like Use Your Illusions, Guns N' Roses. If you compare Use Your Illusions, if you listen to Civil War, which was the only song that Adler played on, and then all the rest of it's Matt Sorum, it sounds like two different, it's not totally different bands, but there's a huge difference in sound.
Definitely.
In feel.
Nobody plays the Guns N' Roses songs as good as Steven Adler. Nobody.
Yeah.
There isn't a drummer out there alive that can. We are actually playing with him coming up at a casino in Oklahoma. And I don't want to mess this up, but the date is going to be Friday the 2nd
of June. Okay.
Yep. And I guess they're going to open up, but his band's phenomenal, and it's almost kind of like, oh, they're actually a lot better than Guns N' Roses, as far as just the overall. I mean, they sound exactly like the Appetite era,
Sure.
except more in tune and less flubs. And the singers,
I don't know the singer's name, but man, he's great.
yeah, it's like effortless for him to do the Axl thing, which just, I guess once every 40 years somebody comes along that can do it.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad it ain't Axl these days, because Lord knows he's not good anymore, or he's not as good.
It's an age thing, and it is a bummer, and it's all of us. It's so rare that somebody can continue to sing at the level they always did beyond their 60s or 70s. There's always going to be a weaker delivery, you think, over time.
Yeah. Is it me? And it could very well be me, but is it me that is alone in thinking that Guns N' Roses, as it's constituted now, kind of has lost the message of what it used to be, with the two keyboard players and nothing against Frank Ferrara. I mean, I like Frank as a drummer, but he is he's like a mechanical drummer. He's very timely. I mean,
there is a band that he could be awesome in. I just think it's not this band.
It's not Guns N' Roses.
He's obviously a phenomenal drummer. There's no doubt
he's
about
a great drummer, but I always think he's very mechanical. He's very precise, and I don't think that fits for Guns N' Roses. I don't think Guns N' Roses needs a precise. Guns N' Roses needs a little bit of sloppy on everything.
And it's and there's also a swing with some players.
Yeah,
other players are great too. They just don't have the exact same swing. Eddie Van Halen has had a freaky swing to his playing that even on fast stuff you don't realize that he's actually swinging it, where other guitar players are more just straightforward metal guys. They don't have that same thing. It doesn't mean they're not good. They can play some very technical guitar stuff, but it's a swing thing, and I just yet to see any other drummer come into GNR and not have it be a noticeable difference in the drumming.
And that's the thing with the drummers that GNR has had. Matt Sorum's another guy that's Matt Sorum is very much, mechanically perfect. I mean, his timing is perfect. He's very solid. He's a solid player, but has the swing of a brick wall, just none. He just doesn't have any swing to his playing, and it showed in GNR, and it showed in Velvet Revolver as well. Velvet Revolver felt like Appetite for Destruction GNR. It didn't feel like, or not Appetite, but
it was more like Stone Temple Pilots feel.
Yeah, it was very, very clean, very, crisp, and I know I've seen the closest I've seen good doing GNR was when I saw Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. When they play like Mr. Brownstone or whatever, that's as good as anything that you'll hear anywhere, because Miles is a phenomenal singer, and everybody in that band is just like, Slash handpicked him to be his GNR when there was no GNR.
Yeah, he even gave him the featuring Miles Kennedy moniker. Yeah, which is a big compliment to do.
It is a big compliment.
You would think it'd be Slash featuring Slash.
Yeah, but instead it's the most ridiculously long name in the history of rock and roll. Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. And what
Volume
is everybody
2, Book 1.
Well, what does everybody call it? Slash. Nobody calls it even Slash featuring Miles Kennedy. It's just Slash.
I'm glad he did that band, because it did showcase how good a guitar player Slash can be. You know what I mean? When he's playing those Conspirator songs, they're different than the GNR stuff.
Dude, those albums are fantastic. Those are some. I think there's 4 of them, and they're all great. Great stuff. I'm a big Slash guy. I mean, and it's a weird thing, because as much as I'm a huge fan of Slash, I don't think he's this amazing guitar player. Like, I mean, he's definitely regarded as a guitar hero, but I think it's more look and attitude than it is his playing.
He's a truist. Is that a word? Truist?
Truist?
I know, maybe I just made that up, but just somebody that's can stick to that style, like that classic rock Aerosmith style. Like he never veered from it and did something different. He is that through and through. And I think that's what shines with him.
Sure.
You know,
although I do think his hero that you mentioned, Joe Perry, much better player.
Yeah, I think they're similar, man, in a lot of ways, but certainly, you know, Joe was doing it first, maybe,
Sure.
you know, obviously, but, you know, Slash at such a young age really understood that form of playing, where Slash is a little bit older than me. But for me, like I was getting into thrash metal and stuff.
Sure.
Where that kind of, I don't know how that was for my playing or not, you know, maybe not great, because that kind of takes you a little bit away from the classic rock and doing a more down picking, aggressive kind of feel on guitar, and a little bit getting away from the swing of the classic rock stuff. But he certainly at a young age had it down. I mean, you know, he's an old soul in a way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When you think of like Appetite for Destruction, just how much he nailed it, and that was before Pro Tools,
right?
Okay, and you're hearing a real live rock guy playing that record,
yeah, exactly.
And wow, I mean, I knew though, because being a fan of Aerosmith, when I heard it, it took me a while to kind of get used to Axl's voice.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost comical to me a little bit that knees.
Yeah.
You know, we'd be like making fun of that with our friends and stuff. But I listened to the record because the music was so good.
Oh yeah.
Especially the guitar and everything. It was just so fat and solid and consistent. And the drums and the bass, it just had a very distinct sound there. And it's none of those guys are easily, you know, replaced. How was the bass player at Conspirators doing all that stuff? Does he do like the
Todd Kearns? He's great.
Okay,
well,
Todd.
He not only does he do that, but he sings. Like he sings his band Heroes and Monsters, which we've had on this show.
That's right.
Todd sings as well, and even in the shows, he sings a GNR song in the shows. You know, he does the Axl. You know, so I mean, he's an amazing singer, but yeah, he's a great bass player. I mean, Slash handpicked, even when he was doing Slash's Snake Pit before this band, he handpicked those guys to be able to play that dirty rock Guns N' Roses sound. And for my money, Slash's Snake Pit had 2 records. Ain't Life Grand and what's the other one? It's 10 O'Clock Somewhere.
That was his first solo band, right? With Snake Pit.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just tell you, the second album that he put out, Ain't Life Grand, is one of my top probably 15 albums of all time.
Okay.
And no one knows it. I mean, there wasn't, I don't think there was a hit on it or anything, but it's Appetite for Destruction Part 2. It really is just a dirty rock record. Slash's guitar work is filthy, and like the songs are kind of dirty, you know, which was a hallmark of one of the reasons that I think for me anyway, and probably for a lot of people, that we got into Appetite. It was because we were in the world of Poison at that point. We were in the world of Ride the Wind. Na, 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 na. You know, that's what we were listening to at that point. And then here comes Guns N' Roses with they were like a better rock band than Motley Crue, but they had that same dirty message about, you know, I'm gonna take your credit card to the liquor store.
Right.
You just wait here and be my whore. You know, that kind of kind of messaging.
Welcome to the Jungle was the intro for everybody. And that song was obviously very dramatic song. I think that was the first video, but for me, it was the Live at the Ritz that MTV just played for like weeks on end. And it just showed this sweaty, dangerous kind of band that, you know, just seemed like, you know, an Axl throwing a few fits during it. And like, they all had this charisma where you knew they were going to be huge. There was stuff I was hearing that sounded a little off, but it was cool because it was them really playing and you knew it.
Right.
And their legacy was born. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's true. I mean, they were, dude, I mean, I don't think they did it on purpose, and I think that's why they were successful. They just were dangerous. They, you know, I don't think that was an image. I don't know. I mean,
I call it when I there's been times, hasn't been recently, but I've jumped out and fought people and stuff, and I call that going full axle. Right?
Nice.
And I've gone full axle a good handful of times
Sure.
in my band here, but he's definitely the guy that you think of for jumping out in the crowd and beating somebody's ass or something.
And dude, I mean, there was such a stigma at the time, and I think people have forgotten that. I remember I went to see GNR and Skid Row at Shoreline Amphitheater up there in San Francisco, or I guess it's in like San Jose or somewhere, but it's close to San Francisco. And it was like a week after the St. Louis riots.
Right.
Remember when they had
didn't play, or they stopped early or something?
Yeah, they stopped early and the place went crazy and tore the place down. And I can remember when I was going to that show, my ex was like, "You're not going to come home alive," because she had just seen Guns N' Roses on the news with the place being tore to shit. And she was like, "You're not going to come home alive." And she was scared, which made me want to go even more.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be in that mix. I wanted another riot to happen so I could be in that mix. Yeah. I wanted the craziness because that was the time, man. That was, you wanted to be associated with the insanity of Guns N' Roses and the insanity of Metallica and the insanity of that band that was coming up known as Pantera. You know, there was like a rage in us as fans, and those were good times. And then, unfortunately, it just died. Like all of that oomph has left. Right. I don't know if it was grunge or what, but you know, it just nobody has ever had.
Pantera kept it going through the '90s pretty good, and you know, there was a few bands. I mean, the music changed a little, the new metal genre, but there was still heavy guitar stuff. I mean, if anything, guitar solos are what went bye for the longest time. Like Pantera was one of the few bands, but they had been doing them since the '80s. That's why. Yeah. But any of the ones born that were coming out of the '90s weren't doing them, or were doing very just noisy solos. Avenged Sevenfold was a band I liked. Some people don't. I thought they were great as far as young guys coming out doing metal. Sure. Great guitar work.
There's a few. Avenged Sevenfold is definitely great. I'm with you on them. I don't understand the hate for that band. You know, they're modern, but they brought with them the greatness of Iron Maiden. So, you know, they're not horrible. Another great one that
the guy was singing. You got to give him kudos. I mean, they had a guy actually that could sing. I mean, to me, he did give me Deep Purple, Glenn Hughes vibes or something. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, and then they had the GIT guitar double wizardry going, which really actually compelled a lot of young kids to start playing guitar.
Right.
Which is, I know. Thank God, you know, that they weren't buying turntables.
Right. Yeah, another band like that never got the love that they should have was Trivium.
Right.
Trivium, when they came out, dude, that album, The Crusade, you might as well call that fucking Master of Puppets 2, because it's all Metallica riffs.
Matt Heffy, right? The singer.
Heffy. I've heard it both ways.
No, he's gotten his due. He has his own guitar.
Yeah.
From Epiphone, I think. And definitely, I mean, 20 years ago, I knew young people that were really into them as a guitar band and wanting to learn some of that stuff. Trivium songs. Fun to play. Metal is always fun to play on guitar when you're first starting out.
For you, what was it that brought you back to classic metal sound? Was it just the opportunity, or were you moving that direction as a player, or what?
Probably because of the guys in Pearcy's band, Stephen and Frankie, that when we were traveling a lot in the early 2000s, the music that we all listened to on the road was just the old stuff. It was just Zeppelin. We didn't listen to anything that would make us too nervous or you know, you're chilling going down the highway. We'd have radio stations that would have the Eagles and whatever on. Right. And then, of course, if we put stuff on, it would be Zeppelin or Aerosmith records. Frankie always had a great collection of MP3s to listen to.
Right.
As well from the 70s, some yacht rock stuff, of course.
Dude, everybody loves the yacht rock.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it's good to listen to those songs. They were so well crafted, and the melodies and, so I kind of got back into that, and I did have trouble. I always had trouble adapting to the really heavy metal. Like I checked out after the thrash era. You know, I loved the big four bands. I used to go see Testament all the time when they played at this theater in San Diego. But once they started just screaming and like the talent left as far as vocalists go, I was out, you know. Once it sounded like it was the guitar player trying to sing. Right. You know. I just couldn't get into it anymore. I did like Static X. I did like Sepultura a little bit.
Sure.
Some of Max Cavalera's band, Soulfly. Soulfly was pretty good. I actually liked Soulfly a little better.
Really?
Well, I mean, I know that's weird to say, but
not necessarily. You know what though, dude? If you're a Max guy, you're a Max guy. Dude, I say this to people all the time about Sepultura, and it's funny because I get fought with online constantly. I love the Sepultura era after Max. I mean, I think you're never going to do better than Arise, Beneath the Remains of Chaos AD, and maybe Roots too. Right. You know, there's those four are for Sepultura what the first four are to Metallica. They really are. But if you get past that, and the biggest problem that Sepultura had was the first album they did with Derek Green was a bag of shit. I mean, it was really bad. It just wasn't good. After that, though, when they found their footing and they got their direction and they stopped trying to mimic what they had done previously, they are, in my mind, the most consistently great band of the last 20 years of extreme metal. The most consistent. Every record has been fantastic, whether it's, you know, Kairos or Dante XXI or, you know, The Mediator, you know, all these records. And I know I'm naming a bunch of records you've probably never listened to in your life, but they have like 8 or 9 records with Derek, and all but the first one are awesome. I mean, awesome. Just amazing guitar work, amazing rhythms, and Derek brings it as a vocalist. Right. But people don't want to hear it because people get stuck in. Dude, you're probably fighting that with the Pearcy stuff. The last 2 Pearcy records, definitely better than the last 2 Rat records. It's me saying it, so nobody get offended. But you know, that's me saying it. The last 2 Rat records, the Infestation and self-titled, the yellow one, whatever that one was.
View to a Thrill.
No, that's yours.
Oh, you're talking 1999?
The last 2 Rat records, the self-titled one, sir. And then the Infestation. Definitely not good as good.
I can't hear you. I have an ear function. I think it's Rat 99.
Yeah, probably. And then those 2 are not as good as View to a Thrill or
Infestation, which I think is technically Rat's last album. It is phenomenal.
It's good. I don't know about phenomenal. It's really good, but had some good songs on it. Again, me speaking, I don't want to cause any issues in the Rat camp, but I thought it was Rat imitating Rat instead of Rat being Rat, if that makes sense. It felt like they knew what it needed to sound like, and they made it sound like that. It didn't feel very organic. It kind of felt like Detonator to me, which was another one that I think Rat, if I remember the story right, they were kind of fractured at that point anyway, like not getting along or whatever. But they put out a record that they sort of did. But I would take your 2. What I'm saying is, I would take the last two that you and Stephen wrote every day of the week over those last 2 Rat records. 100%.
Thank you, sir.
It's just good.
Well, I wished we had done more videos, even if they were lower budge videos. I think it's not too late for that. I mean, in fact, Stephen gets back control of the solo records. I think Smash he even owns now, and he'll get the other one back from Frontiers, View to a Thrill. And I would like to do a video or something for some of those songs, because then people would be more apt to watch it and get familiarized.
Sure. Well, even if you did a live video, I mean, if you guys could work up like one or two of those songs, and just shoot a live video, I mean, that would be cool.
It's justifying playing them, but you know, there's songs that we play, early Rat songs, where sometimes I question why we're playing it, because I don't think the casual person knows you got it, or I mean, they barely know like I'm Insane.
Right.
You know, they had to have owned Out of the Cellar to kind of even get that one. And sometimes when we play those songs, I go, we might as well play a new solo song. It was made more recently. It sounds a little more up to date. It is challenging when you're writing for a band that had success a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because music does change, you know, and I mean, that 80s rock or whatever is kind of played out in most regards. I mean, it's been done to death through that time, and then did it change? But if you were to, you know, all of a sudden deliver something different than what they're used to hearing, then could be an issue. You know, people, this isn't the Rat I remember.
True. But
so,
I mean, the two records that you did, though, they don't sound that different from Rat. Not really. I mean,
well, we weren't trying to sound like Rat. That's for sure. Like for Smash, those were just various, like, I would send Stephen any like song idea I had for like the first 10 years I was in the band.
Right.
And some of them were not even, you know, they might only had 2 parts or whatever. Some of them had more parts. Later I would start giving more complete arrangements to him as I got a grasp on home recording and got some digital workstations and stuff to be able to like layer stuff and send it to him. But when we did Smash, he said we got the deal. I had no idea what songs were going to be on it. I wasn't sure if we were even going to do a record. And next thing you know, he's like, we're going in like 2 weeks. I want to do these songs. And he started like sending me these old demos, some of which were like 10 years or more older at the time, or 15 years. And I was like, really? That old idea? Okay. and I had no idea what he was going to sing on it, you know, either. But somehow we just went in there and did it. And it worked. And I didn't think people were going to like it at all. But they did. One thing that helped, Beau Hill actually came in and mixed one of the songs. I Can't Take It.
Nice.
One quick interesting Beau Hill story. The beginning of the song, initially, I didn't put a solo in the very beginning of the song.
Okay.
Because the original demo didn't have one on it, and I just thought that was too cliche, perhaps, or just too obvious that you know. So I decided to leave it out. When in doubt, leave it out. Right. So I left it out. Well, Beau Hill definitely thought that it should have a solo. And so he like did a solo, and I was like, oh shit. Cause I kind of was somewhat priding myself on that. I'd done all the guitars on the record. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, shit. Now I saw that, okay, you want to do a solo there, and he had just kind of whipped one out. So it wasn't like a perfect solo, but it's a solo you would expect over a riff like that. So I basically said, give me 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. And I basically busted out the solo that you hear on there today, you know, which I actually like.
Well, let's hear it.
Oh, okay.
I can't take it. I can't take it. Wasting my time. I'm gonna smash.
All right, so that wasn't there. So that wasn't there?
No, that wasn't there when he was going to mix the song. When Beau Hill was going to mix the song, that was not there. He sent over something. We're like, what do you guys think? Like, we were giving the final okays on the mixes.
Right.
And I heard that he did a solo. And I wasn't trying to be at all disrespectful to Beau Hill in any freaking way.
Sure.
But it was still our record and our songs. Michael Raphael co-wrote this song.
Okay.
I want to say this is one song that had a co-writer, Michael Raphael, but to give myself credit, the demo sounded very crap. It wasn't as good as the song came out. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? But anyway, he is definitely included with that.
Right.
But where was I going with that? Oh, no disrespect to Beau Hill. Okay. But I was just like, well, shit, if it's a solo, it's not that I couldn't play the solo in the beginning or something. I just didn't know if it needed it. In fact, so I sent Beau Hill like 2 solos. I did 2 different ones. That one, I did another one that was way different than that one. But basically left it to him to at least pick one of the 2.
Right.
To still be, I don't know, not to, still be in control of it in some capacity. Right. So, and I guess he just picked that one. And that was cool. And I was like, cool. So it's not cool somebody else playing. It was pretty, thank you. I thought it was all right. It was, melodic. I was going for more melodic, but then trying to do like a little bit of Warren DeMartini, palm muting of the notes and doing the arpeggiated kind of deal at the end. Nothing too difficult to play, but good little intro there.
Well, and the interesting thing with it, dude, is that I'm going to play it again. It does have, now that I'm going to listen to it with those ears, it does have that Warren DeMartini thing kind of going on it. Let's play it one more time.
Wasting my time, I'm gonna smash.
There. Yeah, that's got a lot of that Martini,
or like one of my early favorite guys too, in addition to Eddie Van Halen, was Neal Schon.
Oh, Neal's great.
Of Journey, like going back maybe even before Van Halen, hearing the early Neal Schon guitar solos off of like Escape. Well, I guess that would have been after Van Halen. But specifically the Escape album from Journey, when I was a little kid, that just blew my mind. All of his solos on there were so fantastic. They spoke to me so deeply as a kid before I even played guitar. So, certainly that the end of that solo has a little bit of Warren DeMartini thing. Kind of reminds me of Dance, Dance, Dance or something. It has like ding, 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 ding. I might have did there, but the whole beginning of that solo was definitely my inner Neal Schon. I would like to think.
Dude, I've always said about Neal that he's the best metal player that never was. I mean, if you checked out, remember that hearing aid that We're Stars? Remember that song, the Dio thing?
Chris Hagar is in that.
Is he?
Is Steven throwing Chris Hagar's name around a lot tonight.
Is Steven in that too? Was he part of it or no?
No, but he's in the Sam Kinison.
Wild Thing.
Wild Thing, right.
Yeah. Well, Neal's solo at the end of the Stars thing is the best solo in the whole thing. And when you think about it, he's in a room full of guitar, he's in the room with George Lynch and probably Mick Mars and, whoever was big guitar players at that point. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I think Vivian Campbell, he's in this room full of huge players and he just smokes them all. He's so good. Dude,
yeah, he has the tone.
He does. And just, he's an amazing player. But have you checked out or seen, I'm sure you're aware there's all kinds of problems with Neal and Jonathan Cain. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not familiar with that, but
there's this financial discrepancies going on. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, Neal on the side did a project called Journey Through Time. Are you aware of this?
No.
This is recent, and actually the album I think just came out last week. It's a live album. It's Neal, Greg Raleigh, the original Journey singer.
Okay.
Dean Castronovo on drums and being the Steve Perry, and Marco Mendoza playing bass. This fucking band, I'm going to say it, better than Journey with Arnel Pineda and Jonathan Cain. It is so goddamn good. I'm going to play a little bit for you here, dude. Okay. Dean Castronovo is a better singer of Journey than Arnel.
I agree. I agree with that, man.
He's so good.
It's weird.
He sounds just like Steve Perry.
It's really weird.
It is.
Get out from behind the drums, though. If you're going to do it, please don't.
Well, I agree. Because you don't focus on him. He's just playing But it is crazy how good he sounds.
He should be
when
like
he's
Peter
behind
Chris. Like Peter Chris, he should come out with a bunch of roses and come out and sing and just start handing people roses.
Right. No, you're right. Well, check this out. We'll play a little bit of this. This is them doing Feeling That Way in Any Time, which is, you know, the one thing about this journey through time. Basically, it's not through all of time. It's just through like frontiers.
Sometimes.
Up to frontiers. Yeah.
Journey through sometimes.
Journey through their fame times is what it is. It's journey at their most popular. But listen how good this is and tell me why you wouldn't go see this over regular Journey. Okay. Which is regular Journey's probably 3 times the cost.
Let me make my own decisions, Chris Akin.
Right, I will. Well, let's see what you think. Here we go.
Open my eyes to a new kind of way. All the good times that we say, Are you feeling?
You know this song?
Yeah, feeling.
Feeling that way too.
But he's the guy who sang.
Yeah, that's Greg Raleigh, the original. But now listen to Dean right here.
Yes, please.
That's just ridiculous.
It is.
He's playing drums and sounded dead on to Steve Perry.
So what the F? Does anybody ever ask the guy, dude, why don't you just get another drummer and go out there and lead sing for the band?
I asked him that with Revolution Saints because he plays drums in that band too. Not that they play a lot of shows, but you know, because he's the lead singer of pretty much of now he's definitely the lead singer of Revolution Saints. Now that they changed the lineup around now and Jack Blades left, because it was him, Jack Blades, and maybe Doug Aldridge. I think Doug was the third guy. And now it's Dean, Joel Hoekstra, and Jeff Pilson. And while Pilson could sing, he's not coming out front to sing. It's definitely now a Dean singing band. And it's amazing. But hearing this, I would go see this 100 times before I would see Journey once.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just better.
Yeah. Yes.
Let me
good to see Greg Raleigh, though. I mean,
yeah,
I think he looks really good, man. He's got to be like almost 70 years old.
Yeah, he's like 70 years old. Still sounds
great.
great. Yeah, let's play a little more of this.
Piano.
Dude, I can listen to this all day. It's so good. Here we go. Sounds great. And now here comes Dean again.
Yes, I'm feeling. That was a low harmony.
Listen to that. Here comes Neal.
taking it easy on him.
That's note perfect. Dude, that is note perfect from the album.
Right.
I mean, this band is fucking great. I can't say enough how much I like this band, you know.
So this is what he did right after the discrepancy with the keyboardist.
I think he just did it like they were off tour and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Frontiers recorded it and it's obviously recorded and put it out. Okay. But man, is it good.
Yeah. It's good to keep playing too anyway. I mean, it sucks to take any significant time off.
It does. But man, if you're Jonathan Cain and this is coming out as a record, are you pissed?
Yeah, I'm sure there's possibly, but you know what? After these guys knowing each other as long as they have, probably it might just be an eye roll out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, because if Neal decides to only do this, Jonathan's fucked.
I don't think he'll ever worry about that. But I don't know the specifics of the Journey contract or how that works or the members, how it's divvied up, or if one guy owns the name.
Could Journey survive without Neal Schon?
Man. Yeah.
You think so?
Survive as a touring band playing casinos or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't see the only guy that, first of all, would be no original members. And
right. Journey's one of those bands, dude, where eventually it'll be no original members. That's if hopefully our show will still be going, that I can go, ha ha, I told you, Chris Akin, they're out there playing and nobody's in the damn original band.
Well, they only got one guy to get to leave before they become that. Just Neal. Because all the other guys, I mean, Jonathan's been there a long time, but he came on in 1980. You know,
it's use it or lose it. You know what I mean? And I like how Neal stays out there playing regardless of whatever BS is going on. He's got to keep those fingers limber. I got to practice. We got shows coming up.
Yeah, you better get to it.
That's right. Where I butchered Sanitarium earlier.
That's right.
I don't think I played that in like 40 years.
Nice.
But anyways, I was about to sing it, and then I think I forgot the words.
Right.
Welcome to a time stand still. No one leaves and no one will. Who is for never seems to change, just labeled mentally deranged.
Well, you know them better than I do, and I'm a Metallica.
You don't know the
junkie.
rest? I could tell right away you weren't going to sing along.
I wasn't going to sing it. I don't know.
You were
the
like,
words.
in fact, you were giving me, I don't know if you remember when you watched the video back, you were looking at me like this.
I was trying to figure out what you were doing.
And I was like, all right, I'm not going to sing.
Dude, if
he's not smiling, I'm not even gonna fucking.
If you play something I know, I will sing it.
You don't know Sanitarium?
I don't know the words. I really don't.
You know the.
I know the song. I knew what you were playing instantly. Look, you want to hear me sing Sanitarium? Here you go.
Okay. Hold on. No, go ahead.
All right, ready? Here we go. Sanitarium, make me wait. Sanitarium, just leave me alone.
Just leave him alone.
And that's all I know. And then the rest of it. Sanitarium. Yeah. That's all I know. I don't know the words. Dude, I am the worst. It's funny because I live my life with lyrics. Like if you've read any of my books or whatever, there's always lyrics. Lyrics mean a ton to me, but singing them, I'm notoriously bad at it.
Lyrics mean nothing to me, like in most cases. However, the Metallica ones were really good back when I was young.
Sure.
So for some reason, I tend to remember them more because, you know, when you're a teenager and life sucks and you can't figure out how to do anything, you have these frustrations. Metallica was the great band to distract you from all that.
I just, other than like the ones that we were beaten to death with from the Black Album, I can honestly say I don't think I know all the words to any Metallica song. You know,
that's why it's easy to mess with words too, because I'm not that attached to anybody's words. So I like you can expect from me in the future to change a lot of songs to fit the Chris Akin Presents.
There you go. I do that all the time, dude. It's like, I would listen to something with Metallica. I'll be like, dear mother, dear father, da 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 da. I don't know any of the words past dear mother, dear father.
It reminds me, even Sanitarium, we used to call that one when we were kids. Denny's breakfast sale. Denny's breakfast sale. Oh, you can eat. Denny's breakfast sale. Oh, that you can
over
eat.
Miami.
Yeah, something. That I was always into changing words around.
Yeah, I do that too. I do that all the time too. All right, man, let's change the fuck out of here. My voice, as you can hear, is just going to shit. So, you will be back next week. I will be back next week. Right. I have no idea if we have guests next week. We're not that far yet, but we will.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will.
We might not. We just might just be us two stupid dicks talking.
Ranting in the loony bin. Oh,
that's right. All right, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. Thanks to Todd Strange from the band I Am for checking in and introducing us to his new band and talking about bison and everything else.
Peacocks and bison.
That's right. Where are you going to be, man?
Well, by the time our fans here are seeing this, the next show will be that one with Steven Adler.
Okay, very good. So that's June 2nd?
Oklahoma, on June 2nd. So check Stephen Pearcy official website for that. He's got an ad for the show on there. It's at a casino out there, so maybe you can snatch a room up.
There you go.
Stay there. That's the best way to see Steven at a casino. Get a room there so you can party.
Hell yeah.
Have to drive.
That's a good idea there. And of course, you can see me on Classic Metal Show on Saturday, on Seth Williams Show these days, Mondays and Wednesdays before this show. And where else am I? I think that's it for now. I think that's enough. 3 shows is enough. But like I said,
don't stretch out your podcasting pussy there, Mr. Akin.
Yeah, no, dude, it's already gaping like a hot dog in a hallway. It's just fucking, I'm constant. But all right, we're getting the fuck out of here. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, you subscribe, you ring the goddamn bell, you follow, you do all that bullshit so that you know when we're live. And that's it. So for Chris Akin Presents, I am Chris Akin.
And I'm Eric Ferentinos.
And we are gone. See ya.